The hard keys to stop phishing in how Cloudflare stopped it is something that our next speaker will be telling us a lot more about. So may I extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Harman Nagra, Solution Architect Networking, APJC, Cloudflare. A round of applause as he joins us there, please. I love the t-shirt that he's wearing, so I think he deserves a louder applause than that. Thank you.
I'll show it off then. Thank you very much. As it was mentioned, my name is Harman Nagra. I'm a principal architect with Cloudflare. And what I wanted to do in this session was talk about a real-life example of a relatively sophisticated, targeted phishing attack against an organization, that organization being us, Cloudflare, and how we were able to use some of the principles defined by a zero trust security model to mitigate and protect against that attack. But before I get into the details of the actual attack that we witnessed and protected ourselves against, I do want to touch upon some of the observations I think we've all made in the recent years. And I think for a long time, email phishing attacks have been synonymous with malwares or ransomware attacks where a user might get a malicious link in the email. They might click on that link, and once they access that malicious website, a malware is downloaded on their endpoint, which might encrypt the data, and then the bad actor can ask for ransom if you need access to that encrypted data. So that's traditionally been what's been happening with phishing attacks, but I think that's no longer the case. I think we all agree that phishing attacks and the attacks themselves have gotten more sophisticated. The attackers are no longer interested in just encrypting your data for ransom. They want to do more of compromising accounts, and they're using various techniques to compromise an account of a user within your organization so they can then laterally move within your organization, or insert themselves in the supply chain where they can then compromise additional organizations up and down the supply chains. That's where the money is. That's where more focus is going on with these bad actors or with the attacks that we are seeing. And the vector, the attack vector itself is no longer just constrained to emails. Attackers are getting more sophisticated. They're using voice and text messages to initiate these attacks and compromise user accounts within your organizations to achieve better outcomes from their attacks. And as I said, the attackers, it's no longer lucrative for them just to encrypt your data and ask for ransom. They are more focused on compromising accounts within the organization to, again, laterally move within the organization. While we've seen that's the trend where phishing attacks are progressing towards, I think we've also sort of come to realization that the zero trust security model perhaps is that silver bullet that will not only help us mitigate and protect against attacks of today, but perhaps also protect us against evolving attacks of the future. The zero trust security model has some intrinsic principles such as we need to move away from network-based security policies to more identity-based security policies. And identity-based security policies just can't be username and password. We need to integrate multi-factor authentication, and multi-factor authentication that is resilient to these attacks. And this was the key in us being able to mitigate that attack or prevent any compromise happening within Cloudflare. But even before this attack was launched against Cloudflare, there was an intrinsic culture of security within Cloudflare. We are a security vendor. We understand the responsibility we have in order to protect our customers and their data. So security was always front and center for all our employees. And it's drilled down on a daily basis on how important security is for us and what actions we need to take to ensure that we are able to better protect our customer and their data. One of those key factors in ensuring that a good security posture exists within Cloudflare is ensuring that every employee is issued with a hardware token, with a hardware encrypted hardware key that is used as part of the multi-factor authentication in accessing an application. Now, in addition to having a username and password and also having that hardware key which ensures that we can access the application securely, we also have security policies defined that only allow us access to the applications we need access to do our job. Just because I have authenticated as Harman and I have that hardware key, it doesn't mean I can access any application within Cloudflare. I'm only allowed access to applications that I need to do my job, and that is well monitored and ensured that security posture is kept within the organization. So that's I guess the backdrop. That's what we've observed and what we at Cloudflare ensured that culture existed within Cloudflare. Talking about the attack itself, the attack was part of a larger attack against various organizations. When it came to Cloudflare, the bad actors sent out an SMS to over 100 employees of Cloudflare. 76 of those employees received this text message that's shown on the right in under a minute. The domain that was registered to attract the user to phish login credential was only registered 40 minutes before the attack was launched. What that meant was that because this domain was very new on the internet, not many of the security web gateways or proxies that you might use to detect malicious URLs or malicious resources on the internet wouldn't know about this domain. And that was the case with us too. We have a security web gateway solution that is part of our Zero Trust portfolio that necessarily didn't see this domain and wouldn't have recognized this as a malicious domain. When the user clicked on this domain, this attack happened in real time, or the bad actor, the attacker, was monitoring the whole process of the user entering their username and password and additional steps they need to take in real time. And what the attack itself was meant to do was that once a Cloudflare employee logs on to that malicious website, that, by the way, looked exactly like our authentication portal. They were to enter the username and password, and once they enter the username and password, that username and password would be communicated in real time via Telegram to the application Telegram, not the old Telegram system. The username and password would be communicated back to the attacker, and the attacker in real time was logging on to the actual Cloudflare authentication portal with those username and password. And once that happened, the attacker understood well that most organizations would have a multi-factor authentication in place, and multi-factor authentication generally, what I have seen with a lot of our customers and a lot of organizations in the industry, is a soft token. It's either an application on your phone that generates a one-time PIN, or a one-time PIN is sent to your email or to your SMS, and you're asked to enter that one-time PIN after your username and password. This is nothing revolutionary. We do this every day. But what the attacker was hoping here was that once that one-time PIN was generated by the software on your phone, or perhaps via an email, the user would enter that one-time PIN, That one-time PIN would be communicated to the attacker in real time, and this way the attacker would gain full access to the Cloudflare environment or other organizations that they were targeting. Fortunately for Cloudflare, this didn't happen. And this didn't happen because our second factor authentication was not software-based. It was not soft token. It is an actual hardware key that we use on our laptops. It's a YubiKey. I encourage you to even use it for your personal accounts. It's relatively cheap. You can jump on Google, search for YubiKey, and you'll be able to buy a YubiKey for yourself. So we use a YubiKey which is permanently inserted into our laptop on our USB-C port, and that, in addition to the zero trust principles or zero trust policies that we have deployed, ensured that the attacker did not get that second factor authentication PIN that was required to access the application. Out of the 76 employees that received that message and that clicked on that link, 3 employees did log in to that website with their username and password. So the attacker did have the username and password for 3 employees, but they could not progress any further in accessing the Cloudflare environment. And there were other observations that we made of the attack and the attacker, such as the makeup of the application that was presenting that malicious website. It was a Nuxt.js front end with a Django back end and was being hosted on DigitalOcean. Now, as the attack was progressing, the zero trust deployment or the zero trust policies that we had enforced within our environment ensured that we got full visibility of what was going on into the attack, and we were able to take the mitigating steps that were required, even though we had all that protection in place to prevent the attack from happening in the first place. A minute after the attack, our security incident and response team was informed. We quickly interrogated our identity provider logs. In our case, the identity provider is Okta. We ensured that there wasn't any compromise of any of the applications. Within 9 minutes, a warning was sent to all employees via multiple collaboration tools such as Google Chat and email to ensure that they were aware of the attack. And within 3 minutes, we had taken that malicious domain, added it into our threat intelligence, which is consumed by our security web gateway to ensure that no employee could access that malicious website. And by the way, once we inserted that threat intelligence into our security web gateway, all our customers also received that intel, and if any of them were a target of the attack, it ensured that they weren't able to access that IP or that malicious website. And within 37 minutes, we worked with DigitalOcean to take the website offline, so the attackers couldn't continue on with their attack. Now, to summarize, there are 5 key learnings here, and some of these learnings were, I was very glad to hear what the panel discussed prior to me coming on stage, and some of these points were actually highlighted by a couple of the panelists. But the very first point I'd like to make around is that while zero trust as a security model is, as I said, perhaps that silver bullet that's going to help us prevent or mitigate attacks of today and future, we need to ensure that the multi-factor authentication solution that we select is not also susceptible to compromise. And the best multi-factor authentication currently is a hardware-based token, and as I said, in Cloudflare's case, that is YubiKey. We need to ensure that we move away from network-centric policies and we move to more identity-based policies. And as we allow access for our users to the applications, we limit that access. We reduce the blast radius of a compromise. if a username and password or a user account is compromised, at least we're able to limit the blast radius of that attack. We need to enforce that the principle of strong authentication, the principles of zero trust, regardless of where the application lives, public cloud, SaaS, private cloud, your data center, it doesn't really matter. Authentication and strong authentication with multi-factor authentication should be intrinsic to your policies. This is one of the key points that was highlighted by one of the panelists just before me. We've tried having multiple point solutions to build a better security posture within our organizations, and to be quite frank, we've failed. Breaches continue to happen. As you go on this journey of building a zero trust security model within your organization, consuming a single platform that is able to provide you with all those capabilities that you need is the best approach. It has been proven. I think we need to move away from trying to put in multiple boxes and then trying to make those boxes work together. And the final piece is that this can't be all about technology. People and processes play a strong part. We cannot have a good security model if we propone a blame culture. It needs to be a blame-free culture. We need to enable, educate our users. We need to support them when they are a victim of an attack to ensure that they're not a victim of such an attack again. Now, I couldn't have planned this better. While I was preparing for this talk, this happened. And this happened as late of last night. If you look at the tweet from Uber, it is at 16th of September, 11:25 a.m. Pacific time. And this, if you don't follow any security newsletters or websites, you would have seen this morning. Uber was compromised in the exact same way that I have just described in the last 6 slides. This is happening every day to all organizations of all sizes. And again, the vector that was used to compromise Uber is the exact vector that I have discussed with you today. A VPN account was compromised. And once the VPN account was compromised, the attacker was then able to infiltrate their AWS account, their Slack accounts, and their vSphere environment that existed. So this is not something that just happens once in a while. This is happening every day, and I encourage you to look at zero trust as the security model and come and talk to Cloudflare. We can absolutely help you with implementing a zero trust security model with a single platform with all the capabilities that you will need. I hope the talk was informative. I thank you very much for your time. I know it's very late, so thank you for staying back, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the sessions.